Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for submitting your artwork for review. So I've pulled up your JPEG right here. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love this holiday collection with the Dalmatians. So what I'll be doing is referencing your main collection that you submitted right here, as well as the individual JPEGs that you sent over in the folder. So I think these were the high-res versions of some of these mock-ups and flat files. So this looks awesome. And I'll also be referencing over here your responses to the survey that I asked you to fill out. So I'm going to go ahead and start here and then circle back into your collection afterwards. Okay, so first and foremost, what is your goal with this collection? You wrote your goal was to create a Christmas collection that would have broad appeal for licensing. So super smart. I love that you are definitely on the right track there. You said, I started intending to create a collection that would work for wrapping paper, but I expanded it to include stationery and fabrics as I worked on the patterns. So yeah, first and foremost, I think that's a really smart approach because when you're doing a holiday specific collection, like in this case, winter holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, well, this is probably mostly Christmas and Hanukkah, I would guess. The thing to focus on are the items that get sold during that occasion, during that holiday. So, you know, if you're doing a birthday collection, then birthday cards are the biggest factor. So are gift wrap, wrapping paper, paper plates, things like that, anything that would go towards a party. So when you're focusing on an occasion holiday like winter holiday, Christmas, I think it was really smart for you to think about the products that are being licensed and sold around that holiday. So yeah, totally, you hit the nail on the head here. You did the gift wrap, which these are just so beautiful, by the way. I'm zooming in. I love this. Yeah, so gift wrap is a big product. Fabrics probably, I'm not totally sure on fabrics for holiday, but the mock-up is beautiful and I would leave it in there. But yeah, the stationery items, the cards, all of that is really smart. I love the ribbon here. This is like the perfect mock-up for your collection, you know, the ribbon in the Christmas tree style. So yeah, I think that was really smart to think about the products that work for the holiday, the special occasion that you're focusing on. So good move there. All right. Okay. As you worked on your patterns, yeah, the patterns in here are really nice, but we'll come back to that in a sec. Okay, so any specific feedback or area that you'd like me to concentrate on? You mentioned you struggled with whether your collection had enough variety, but still maintained a cohesive look. So yeah, I totally get that. It is a balance between coming up with a nice dynamic collection that has a really nice variety of designs, but still holds together cohesively. And I will tell you that I think you absolutely nailed it with this one. You've got a nice variety of really simple blender prints like these stripes right here. Love those imperfect edges. It matches your illustration style. Plus you have your hero patterns, the main one, of course, with the Dalmatians, some secondaries, things like that. So I think I think you did a really great job with coming up with the yeah, that variety of designs. It feels so cohesive. And even when I go over here to some of your JPEGs, there's nothing I've seen. I've already looked through all these, by the way. There's nothing that I've seen here that feels like an outlier that I would recommend removing from the collection because it detracts. There's nothing like that I'm seeing. Everything here feels really well-rounded and really cohesive. So yeah, you nailed it on that front. So I would not worry about that. I think you did a great job. Okay, so ideal target audience. You said for this collection, the ideal audience, people in their 20s through 50s who shop at stores like Paper Source or Rifle Paper Company. Love it. I think you nailed that as well. When I think of places like Paper Source, Rifle Paper Company, I think of more. I think of stores that are more on the high end of gifting items. You know, you have budget gifting items that get sold through places like, like Dollar Tree, even CVS and Walgreens to a degree. I do have licensing deals with them, but they are on that kind of the lower end. They're less expensive. But when I think of places like Paper Source or Rifle Paper Company usually gets stocked in Anthropologie, which is another high-end store. I think this whole collection feels very high-end. So I think that's you're definitely on the right track. And something I want to point out here is these are places, not Rifle Paper Company, because they're their own. I don't think they license designs. I think they do everything in-house. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But that's what I'm pretty sure is the case. But with Paper Source, this would be a really good company to pitch to, because everything I'm seeing here, it aligns with their aesthetic. Again, just really beautifully curated, on trend. The Dalmatians is a great touch, types of designs. Paper Source would be a really good one to pitch to. So if you're working on your dreamiest dream list, remember that was the business step from a couple months ago. Paper Source would be a good one to add on to that. And I would also consider companies that are similar to Paper Source, where they primarily sell gifting items, maybe on the higher end as well. I think your designs fit really well with that kind of aesthetic. So, and companies that have seasonal gifting items. So what I mean by that is companies that are going to be selling, Christmas designs around Christmas, that kind of thing. Other, just off the top of my head, would be probably Shop Bando, which I've been recommending in a few of these reviews. You can see their stuff here. They have a lot in the stationery and gifting space, and I think a lot of these designs that you created, stationery works perfectly. The gifting space as well, I think it fits really well. So Bando would be one. In terms of others, I would probably pitch this to Studio O as well. And don't forget, Studio O is doing that open call out right now. They're looking for artists to be licensing. They're in the gifting and stationery space, dated goods, calendars, planners, notebooks, and this collection is perfect. When it comes to pitching a collection that is around a specific season, like this one is December, different companies have different, it all just kind of depends on the company on when they're actually selecting for the holiday. So some companies are sourcing a full year out. Others are sourcing 6 months out. Some that do POD, more like a month or two out. So there's really no wrong time to pitch a holiday collection. It just depends on the company you're pitching to. And there's not really any way to know, when Studio O, for example, is sourcing for holiday designs. So what I would do if I were you is pitch to them, but then if you're pitching a holiday collection like this, just to mention in your pitch, hey, not sure if you guys are sourcing for winter holiday yet, but if there's a better time for me to reach out with my winter holiday designs, please let me know and I'll get back in touch then. And that way, you're letting them know, you understand how licensing works, you're open to their needs, you're being professional, polite, very courteous. And so I think that would be a good way to go. And then the other benefit of that, of telling them you'll reach back out, maybe you can mention something like, I'm working on some fresh new holiday designs. So that's letting Studio O or whoever you're pitching know that they're going to be getting your fresh new designs. Because even if this was something you created 3 years ago, Studio O is probably going to want to think like, oh, this is something you just created because it's relevant. So it doesn't matter that much. I'm getting artwork licensed and sold that I created a decade ago, but I'm not necessarily telling my licensing partners that I created that work 10 years ago, because in their eyes, they want fresh new designs. So that's just kind of something to consider when you're wording your pitch. Like, if you mention you're working on, or you want to pitch holiday designs to them, you can always say something like, I'm working on some fresh new holiday collections that I'd love to send your way when you're looking for it. And then that way, again, they know it's relevant. Just little insider scoop for you on that one. Okay, Specific clients or markets that you're trying to break into. You said most interested in stationery, fabric, home decor, mainly through art prints. I think that's all great. I would add gifting onto that as well. So gifting is a category it's kind of like a catch-all for like anything again that you would see at like Studio O. It's things like stationery items like planners, dated goods, little tchotchkes like air fresheners. I have those sold through Paper Source actually. Pens, pencils, little gift packs of random items. Like that's gifting is what would you buy a friend for her birthday, right? Even like candle packaging, things like that. I think your style lends itself to really, really well, because one of the main considerations for the gifting category is really trendy, like very much on trend right now artwork, because these are items that they get printed, manufactured, and sold to be used almost immediately, gifted immediately, versus something like, let's say wallpaper, which is more of a timeless aesthetic. You know, someone is going to take the time to put wallpaper up on their walls. They don't want it to just last a season. They want it to have more longevity. But so the gifting space, like your designs fit really well because they're all really marketable and really on trend. Not to say you couldn't also do wallpaper. You absolutely can. But when I see this collection here, I'm thinking like the gifting space is absolutely perfect for you. So I'm going to add that on there. Okay. Any particular artistic style or aesthetic that you're focusing on? You mentioned that you have two main art styles that you gravitate towards. Simple, colorful illustrations like this collection right here, and the modern Riso style art. So yeah, I think that's great. Totally fine to have multiple styles in your portfolio. I certainly do. Yeah, you've mastered this style. So in terms of, artistic ability or room for improvement within your illustrations, I'm not seeing too much, to be honest. Like, you've got a really great style. You have a really beautiful way of illustrating characters like these dogs. It feels hand touched, hand done, even though I'm pretty sure you did this in Procreate, still hand done because you used a stylus. But yeah, I think this looks really fantastic. Okay. Any challenges or obstacles that you've faced as you've been building your portfolio? You say, I've been working on building a portfolio for a while, but I've yet to have anything to show. I struggle to finish complete collections and focus too much on single illustrations or patterns, often wasting time redoing multiple things. So I could have written this about myself when I was first getting started too. I felt pretty scatterbrained when I was starting my licensing career. I was just, again, focusing on standalones, like I'm going to paint donuts and then in watercolor, and then I'm going to do an Adobe Illustrator pattern of checkerboard or, something else. So it was all over the place. So I think it's really, but when I was struggling with that, I didn't know that that was my struggle. So the fact that you are conscious of it and it's something you're working on already puts you miles ahead, because personally I've seen a lot of artists that struggle with this, but they don't know that it's something that they're struggling with. It's like, when you sit down to think, what do I want to paint or draw? Pull something out of a hat and draw it or paint it. That's what I used to do. Now I approach it with a little bit more strategy, and I can absolutely see you doing the same with this collection. Like, again, it's just incredibly professional. This is something that if I were an art director opening an email and seeing this layout, I would think that you've probably been in the game for a while and you're already a professional licensed artist. So yeah, I think that's awesome. This really does put you miles ahead. If you want any tips for that, for kind of focusing on working on those cohesive collections, I mean, the course content is all about that, which I'm sure you've been watching through. But let me focus on the redoing thing. Done is better than perfect in almost every category when it comes to this industry. And maybe you would like look at something like this and think like, oh, maybe I should have put a little sparkle right here to balance it out. That's the kind of thinking that, as perfectionists, of course we want our artwork to look perfect, but what that does is it really bogs us down and it keeps us from actually completing work. So something that I find helpful is when I find myself like overly correcting and really trying to finesse something into perfection. One is realize what I'm doing, maybe set it aside, work on something else, because sometimes we kind of have these little roadblocks and we get stuck when we're trying to perfect something too much. So that's maybe a little trick that might help you as well. But the whole set it aside and come back to it later thing definitely helps me. And the visual map is another thing that helps me with that as well, where sometimes I'm not just working on one illustration, completing it and moving on to the next. Sometimes I'm working on a few at a time, but as I start plopping those into the visual map, it helps me see kind of how the collection is coming together cohesively. So that's just another little strategy that might help you with that kind of roadblock of overly finessing something. Okay, questions that you have for me. Would you recommend another colorway? I played around with some options, but couldn't find anything with the same mood as the original palette. So when it comes to doing alternative colorways for collections, I usually do that for the collections that I think have probably the strongest commercial appeal and potential, because, well, for one simple reason, I don't want someone to not license the collection just because the colors don't vibe with whatever they're going for. And for this collection right here, I think, again, it's incredibly strong. And so that might be a good idea for you to do an alternate colorway to, again, just make this collection feel a lot more robust. That being said, I think this colorway is excellent. It's strong. There's nothing I would change about this colorway. It looks beautiful in your portfolio. So if you are considering doing another colorway to, again, just give it a little bit more appeal, just in case someone is looking for something else, then what I would focus on is a gap. And what I mean by that is this whole collection feels, it's not a traditional holiday collection. It feels very modern and on trend. And the color palette you're using definitely reflects that. The coral, the mint, and then this kind of classic green. I think it's kind of that nice kind of, blend of traditional Christmas color palette, red and green, but it has more of a modern contemporary twist because it's a minimal color palette, really just two solid colors plus neutrals, plus the introduction of the mint, the light pink, things like that. So I would call this color palette like more modern, but it definitely has that kind of traditional touch to it. So going back to that gap idea, if you are going to do another color palette out of this design, then I would think, what have you already done? You've nailed the traditional palette with a little bit of a modern touch. So maybe if you want to do a second color palette, what's something that's drastically different and gives you a different vibe? That would either be going super traditional, but I don't think that would be the route you should go because, again, I think you've got traditional covered here. The other one could be super modern. So maybe instead of the classic red and green for holiday, you think of something else that's a little bit more unexpected and not always associated with holiday. If just when it's me doing something where I'm creating a color palette that feels distinctly different from the other, I'm also going to be thinking about, does it, like, if it's, like orange and yellow, that might be too far away from holiday. So having a color that kind of anchors it back in. So if you are going to go alternative Christmas palette, maybe it's going to be, I don't know, like a lime green or something, then maybe you can pair that in with something that does feel more traditional, like an evergreen or a red, something like that. Or like maybe you're doing an alternative like bright purple palette, like the color of my nail polish right here. What are some more traditional Christmas associated colors that you could kind of pair that with, so it's not too far off. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Anything else that you would like me to know? You mentioned while developing the patterns, I realized that this collection could work with both the Dalmatians theme and as just a Christmas theme without including the Dalmatians. Totally agree. More versatility makes you more appealing for licensing deals. So you said I created 2 more versions, one including the Dalmatians and one that doesn't. This mainly meant removing the dog toys from the secondary pattern and omitting the Dalmatian spot pattern. I thought having the 2 versions could increase the reach of this collection. Yeah, your intuition is absolutely right, and you're spot on with that. Spot on, like a Dalmatian. I come up with like 2 puns a year, so when I get one, it's a big deal. Okay, so yeah, to kind of address what you're saying and break it down, the Dalmatians over here, this is probably what makes this collection so distinct and so unique, appealing, everything. I love the Dalmatian pattern. That's one of my favorites from this. But what you mentioned was, you also don't want to pigeonhole yourself in too much, because what if a licensee is interested in this collection, but they're not looking for dogs at the moment? They want something that's a little bit more generic. Then you've got those options as well. So when it comes to just presenting collections in general, it's rare. It happens, but it's not often that a buyer will select every single design from a collection that I'm pitching. Usually what they'll do is they'll kind of pick and choose the designs they're interested in. So by displaying it with the Dalmatians, you're not, shooting yourself in the foot. If somebody doesn't want the Dalmatians, they'll just simply not select that design, but they'll select others. But when it comes to the display of it, let me go back over here to your JPEGs. Yeah, okay, so like the flat display. I see what you mean. Like, this pattern is really viable. It's a great pattern, and the dogs add to the pattern, but they're certainly not, you can still use these same elements even without the dogs. Like the presents here, which you've done over here and over here, the fireplace mantle with the stockings, the little bows, the sparks, the letters to Santa, post office, things like that, post box. So yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of showcase that versatility. So let me see real quick. Yeah, here it is right here. So I'm pretty sure this pattern right here is the version without the dogs. Let me make sure. Almost, yeah, just missing the post box. So yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of lean into, again, making it more broadly appealing, just in case someone might not want the dogs, but they want more of a generic Christmas. You've got both. So I think that's really smart. Let me finish going through some of these others. I love the pins there. That's a great mock-up. Cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is start at your first one and just kind of talk through some things I'm seeing, maybe some recommendations I might have. First things first, if you were going to be pitching this to a client, to a buyer, just make sure that you have your name or your logo, contact information on the spread that you're sending. I know this is probably one that you just put together for my review, so that's totally fine, but just I'm just mentioning that so you get credit for your work. When it comes to complex patterns like this one right here, this is where, if you're ever going to have your signature in a pattern, it usually works when it's a really busy, complex pattern. So let me just pull my signature in. It doesn't work as well if you want to have your signature on a really simple pattern, like let's say these bows right here. Let me just invert it and put a little screen on there. Cool. So when I put my my signature on patterns, for something like this, it stands out too much. Plus, for the simple pattern, your block is literally just like this. So your signature would repeat like every single time the bow is there, which is, not ideal. Same thing for putting it over here with your spark pattern. It can blend in a little bit better, but I'm trying to see where the repeat cutoff is for this pattern. Yeah, it's still going to be too much. And what I'm doing here is I'm seeing for your block that repeats, that makes this seamless pattern, that would be your signature repeating, every time the block repeats. But over here, when you have these more complicated patterns, totally personal choice, it's up to you. But these really complicated patterns give you some really great opportunities to kind of tuck in your signature where it doesn't stand out the way that it would for a simpler pattern over here. So again, this is totally optional, but for me, I really like getting, like credit for my artwork, recognition for when it gets printed on any sort of product. So yeah, just looking for a way where you can kind of maybe tuck your pattern in, where it's like a little bit hidden, but someone can still notice it and, see who created that artwork. So that's just something I kind of play around with when it comes to complex patterns like this, especially when the repeat isn't happening, every single element like it is here on the bow. You've got a very, very dynamic pattern here, and the repeat is, it's a lot more subtle. So just a little tip for you there. I think the Dalmatians are actually what makes this collection really just unique and engaging and attention grabbing. You don't often see, when you think of a holiday collection like Christmas, you have all of those traditional elements you think of, the snowflakes, the stockings, the letters to Santa. But when you add an unexpected element like the Dalmatian into this, that's what really amps it up, makes it feel a lot more unique, a lot more special, a lot more engaging. So I think, your intuition was totally right here. And being able to create a Dalmatian pattern is absolutely perfect because you think of all of the other animal print designs that exist out there, like leopard print, zebra print, cheetah, but you don't see Dalmatian that often. So I think that's a really fun one to add on here. And like I mentioned, I love the imperfect edges here that you did, the kind of that really, really subtle texture that you applied to these shapes. That's what makes it feel, just really professional, really hand-touched, really premium. These aren't just, generic circles that you just created vectorized in Adobe Illustrator. These feel really special. Same thing with these bows, and it all holds together really, really well. So yeah, I think you did a great job with that. Another thing that I'm really liking with the way that you laid out this pattern here is you're doing a great job blending different pattern types together. So you have this pattern where it's a little bit scattered. You have these elements kind of contained in their little groups. This over here with the snowflakes is like the true scatter pattern. But then you also have patterns that are a little bit more gridded and geometric, like these presents that are all aligned on a horizontal axis, plus these bows that kind of make this nice checkerboard, the dots that are kind of like confetti drops that go all over the place. So it feels like a really nice range, which is something that you mentioned in the questionnaire. You were worried, like, does it feel too scattered? Does it feel cohesive? I think it feels really absolutely perfect on those regards. Another cool opportunity you have is with all of the elements in your hero pattern right here, you could easily turn these into their own spot illustrations or hero art prints. Like in particular, the Dalmatian in front of the mantle, this could be its own standalone art print. And that's something you mentioned, where was it? The product categories that you wanted to get into. Art print, well, it's somewhere. I can't read while recording myself. Here it is. Art prints. This would make a great art print. This would make a great art print. Dog at the window waiting for the owners to come home with Santa's sled flying above. All of these would make really great standalone art prints or spot illustrations. So good job doing a 2-for-1 on that one. For these things like the presents, they're a lot simpler, so I wouldn't really consider those being a standalone art print, like just one present, but they do work as really great spot illustrations. If you do, and let me actually see if you did it, if you do bundle, like you take a group of these presents like this, and maybe you arrange it like together on a standalone hero, that could make a good art print, but one by itself might be a little bit too simple. But I see so many potential opportunities in this collection you've got here. All right, I'm gonna go through and look at some of these others. Yeah, I love this. This is the more generic without the Dalmatians. I love how you had to remove the bones and the dog treats on this one. That's fun. Yeah, I think this looks really nice. Let me think. Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite little touches on this mock-up is the fact that the envelope liner is that same Dalmatian print. I think that's just super cute, really subtle, but it goes a long way. So I love how you did that one. Let's see some more. Yeah, getting to see it here on fabric with that nice texture coming through. I like how you colored the measuring tape to match the palette of your collection. That's really nice. Yeah, the fabric here. These cards are fantastic. So even the way that you even paired your hand lettering to match the same illustration style is really nice. That's another thing that I see a lot of artists kind of struggle with, is kind of pairing the aesthetic of the typography with the aesthetic of their illustration. But I don't see that same struggle here. In fact, let me pull this up a little bit bigger. Yeah, it has those same kind of imperfect qualities that again make it look like it was all done by the same artist hand. Even the way that you did the typography on the mailbox, like it feels really nice. It feels really cohesive here. Okay, let me go through a few others. This is one of my favorite images from your entire collection. It's a really strong mock-up. If you're going to be presenting this collection on social media, this would be an image that I would lead with as well. It feels really, really nice. And yeah, I love this one with the Christmas tree with the ribbon. That looks great. And then the planner and stationery set. Yeah, this looks fantastic. All right. Okay, I just finished going through the rest of the files to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So at this point, my recommendations for you, one, start pitching like yesterday. This collection is absolutely ready for it. But in terms of just little minor things that you can work on, it's mostly in terms of pulling elements out of this existing collection and showcasing them as heroes or standalones if you're pitching to a company that requires something like that. If you're pitching this collection to like a fabric or a gift wrap company, might not totally be necessary, but I think these would work really well as standalones for certain products, especially the journal covers. So when I saw down here, I'm pretty sure this is part of your kind of the generic collection where you strip away the Dalmatians to make it just more generic. I think something like this would be a great opportunity to showcase one of those hero Dalmatian designs on the front cover here. Right now, it feels a little bit wasted because we're seeing, this great real estate, but it's just a really simple blender print. It's beautiful, but usually I reserve my blender prints for smaller items, like maybe the blender is on the pen or the pencil itself. And this could be a great opportunity to showcase one of, let me go to your other guy. Yeah, one of these heroes. So maybe it's the dog, getting his present out, or the dog in front of the fireplace. I think that could look really fantastic on these covers. Maybe on one of the covers, maybe on two. It just depends on the mock-up and how things are getting overlapped. But yeah, I think you've got a great opportunity there. And I think those are so strong. Yeah, like here you have on the cards. That looks so nice. That looks really, really nice. I would almost think of other products that are in that same holiday space. The little buttons are cute, where you can showcase your Dalmatians. And so when you're thinking about that kind of thing, I would literally just go to whoever you're going to be pitching to. I'm not sure if Paper Source sells on their website or if they just have store locators, but let's find out. You could literally go to somewhere like Paper Source and you see what types of products they have on their site that they're selling. So let's just go to the gift space and see here. It can give you some good ideas for other mock-ups that you might want to include. And if you are going to be pulling more mock-ups in, again, it depends on who you're pitching to. But if I were you, I would look for opportunities to again really show off these Dalmatians as heroes or spot illustrations, because I think they're one of the strongest components of this collection. So yeah, I can't wait to see like where your pitching goes with this, what opportunities come your way, because I think, yeah, this is just, it's so strong, it's so professional. Again, if I were a buyer and I got this in my email as a pitch, I would be like, dang, this girl is already a professional licensed artist, because this all just feels really, really nice. So yeah, I think you're definitely on the right track. If you have any specifics, or if there's anything that I didn't touch on that you had a question about specifically, feel free to let me know. But I'll just tell you that this is it's just really incredible. I think you did a fabulous job here, and your attention to detail is just astronomical, and you've got a great kind of grasp on following trends, what's marketable, how to present something in a really appealing way. Yeah, you're definitely on the right track. So your next step is figuring out who you're pitching to, seeing if you want to include any additional mock-ups depending on who you're pitching to, and yeah, just getting that underway. But yeah, super excited for you. I think you've got some great stuff going, and I can't wait to see more of your artwork. All right, take care.